being an American with your feet on the ground there was still made you kind of exotic. And I became a bit of the talk of the company, and then I then found other Americans that were there, and we had a reconnaissance team that was made up of Americans. And that was where I realized kind of where I was, for that's where I realized where I had to go next. And that's where I kind of had to decide if I was going to stay here or not. Azov Battalion still has a lot of it's neo-Nazi presence. It still has a lot of its Nazi presence. I will say that because I met these other Americans, and like I said, they're the recon team. They're the guys that have been doing the artillery spotting and the fucking intel gathering and all this. And well, I walked in, and it was just a bunch of fucking cowboys, dude. A bunch of fucking cowboys that had no filter on their fucking mouth. It was hilarious. When I when I walked up to them, they're like, I'll call him Tex. This guy was from Texas. I'll call him Tex. Tex looked at me, and he's this dude with just about a fucking mohawk on his fucking head. He's got this big, bushy Doc Holliday mustache and these googly eye trailer park glasses. It was hilarious. And he looked up at me and he said, "Oh man, I don't want to say this word on this fucking show, dude." But he looked at me and he said that N word. He's like, "Oh man, I thought we were gonna be given an N word here for a second."
Shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just kind of looked at him. I was like, okay. In my head, I was like, what the fuck? But I guess it kind of made sense to me more and more because it's war. No one gives a fuck what they say or do. And that's what's dangerous. I can attest to that. Well, I looked at him and I just kind of said, I'm like, oh, well, you got me instead. I said, my name's Justin. And I shook his head and he said, he called himself Tex, and then he introduced me to your guys, and there was one guy who stood out to me. He was their team medic. His name was Gustavo, not his real name, but I called him Doc. He was the team medic. He was funny. He said ignore. He said ignore these fucking trailer trash hick fucking racists. We're just here to do a job. He said he looked at his Tex and he said, if you keep fucking spewing your mouth like that, I'm not gonna patch you up. It's one of the bigger sub units of Azov, but we were a special purpose regiment. We were quote unquote special operations. And it turned out that around that time, mid-March, that our new job became that we were going to go help our guys at Medieval. And so these guys, I will say this, regardless of it was funny, regardless of my battalion commander, my company commander being the Nazis that they were, because it was funny. I still get a kick out of this. They kind of idolized the American special operations forces. They wanted to be like them for their countries. So we watched these old like History Channel Ranger School videos and stuff. And when my company commander opened up his laptop on this huge fucking TV screen, he had a fucking desktop photo of fucking Adolf Hitler.
Jesus.
I know, and I was like, I just laughed my fucking ass off. I was like, oh, like holy shit, dude, this is happening.
And how prevalent is that? Because you hear absolutely, different reports coming down. Like how prevalent is it there, the Nazi nationalist rhetoric?
So it's funny. It's like a double-edged sword. When I got there, it's a double-edged sword with how much prevalence there is. For instance, it was like at that point in time, Azov did start out as just a more hardcore nationalist group. But nationalism attracts, fascism or national socialism or that sort of imagery. Of course, they were within our ranks. We had a few street hooligans and a couple skinheads and some former political activists before the war. The history is so complicated there that as an American, you really just can't fucking almost touch it, just because of like how much background there is as to why these guys are the way they are, why the country is the way their country is. But I'll give these guys credit that they were. I can respect their hardcore nationalism. Could they use different imagery? Sure. Their usage of runes no big deal to me, to be honest. I look at this and it doesn't really bug me too much. I did meet some guys that called themselves National Socialists, or they just called themselves street Nazis or whatever, and they were never these. It was sort of just I just sort of tolerated it. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. As long as you fight well, if you
Yeah.
fight well, if you fight with me, I'll fight with you. Fight for me, and I'll fight for you. It's almost like the lesser of two evils. Would you rather have just a Nazi that's a normal guy but loves Hitler? Would you rather have this?
Mm.
So I sort of just came to a conclusion that I don't, I didn't really care. Sometimes I'd even joke around with these guys and sort of do the Sieg Heil sort of deal. Like they look at me and they'd be like, Hail Americani? And I'd be like, what's up, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Just to sort of fuck with them. It was fun. We did have this one guy who would actually move to Israel and came back. This way, sometimes we fuck around with these guys. We do the little like Roman salute, and then they'd throw us the Roman salute, we'd throw them the Roman salute, and then we'd smack it down, and go 9.
Yeah.
You sort of just adapted to it because these are your guys. Like, I guess you could say that I sort of just accepted it because it was like, this is who I got left. These are the guys I'm fighting with. These guys will fight and die for their country, but it's whatever. As long as they fight. That was just sort of my view on it. It just didn't bug me.
Yeah.